Hey, here's another Republican saying when you automatically register people to vote, you're taking away their rights. Check out this insanity. This is a video of Ken Blackwell. Ken Blackwell has a long history of making it harder for people to vote. And he complained, I guess this is with, this might have been with Tony Perkins. He complains that if you automatically register people to vote, you're taking away the freedom, I guess, of people who don't want to vote. Listen to this insanity.
This administration is attacking citizenship. They, in fact, are creating, like in New York.
He has a great voice. I know people are sometimes shocked when they hear him speak. The words he says are disgusting, but he's got a great voice. I admit it.
This administration is attacking citizenship. They, in fact, are creating, like in New York and Pennsylvania, automatic voter registration where, in fact, they take away the freedom of people to make a choice as to whether or not they want to be registered. Now, we encourage people to get registered, but one of the
one of the problems with the automatic registration is if someone really doesn't want to vote, but it allows for someone to vote illegally for them.
Oh, absolutely. This administration is...
Of course, there's no evidence that that's actually going on. They continue to insist on that. And of course, registration doesn't force you to vote. It just makes sure you have a chance if you decide you actually want to go and vote. Now, this is a guy who has a long history of this stuff. Some of you may not remember him, but he played a key role in the 2004 presidential election because when Kenneth Blackwell was Ohio's Secretary of State in 2004, he was in charge of overseeing the election in Ohio. And the 2004 presidential election between Bush and Kerry saw a bunch of controversies in Ohio. There were reports of long lines, voting machine shortages in certain areas, concerns over the handling of voter registrations and provisional ballots. And Blackwell was serving as the Secretary of State and running the election. And at the same time, he was the co-chair of President George W. Bush's reelection campaign in Ohio, an obvious conflict of interest. I am not coming up with the election was stolen, John Kerry really won or whatever. There are people who made that case that Ohio actually, by the will of the people, was won by Kerry, not by Bush. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that this is a guy who opposes such simple, obvious things like automatic registration. And in 2004, he was overseeing the election in what was a critical swing state and was a co-chair of the campaign of one of the two candidates on the ballot. Absolutely horrifying stuff. Now, this idea of the freedom not to vote, Tony Perkins says, people have a right not to be registered or whatever. As I said before, it's so common that countries have either automatic voter registration or just no voter registration. If you show up, the country knows who is a citizen. They have a list of citizens. They know who's a citizen and who's not. You show up and you go, hey, I'm a citizen. I'd like to vote. Okay. The entire process of registering isn't even actually necessary. And this is something that when the right finds something they like, they seize on it. Because earlier this week, Trump came across the same thing, attacking automatic voter registration. Trump posted to Truth Central, I think this was Monday we talked about it, quote, "The Democrats are trying to steal Pennsylvania again by doing the automatic voter registration scam. They never stop. Obama and his radical left thugs are pushing this, and the Democrats, including the new liberal governor, are thrilled. If Republican leadership, including the disaster we have in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, together with Kevin M. and the RNC, finally don't take action now, we have to throw everybody out and get people who can stop the scams, cheating, and rigging, and win. The Pennsylvania Republican Party must energize, get tough, and stop the scam. Our country is at stake." And as I said on Monday, think about how scared and deranged you have to be to argue that simply automatically registering people to vote is a scam. It is not a scam. It's so insanely common that it is a shock we even have to have this conversation. But when you've lost on the issues, when you can't convince people that you're offering something that is actually good for them and for the country, what you're left with is having to attack process. It's similar to what many lawyers write to me. They say, David, when the facts are on your side, you argue the facts. When the facts are not on your side, you argue process. Here, you have a situation where the policy package and the platform is not on the side of Republicans. The country is as progressive as it has ever been. So instead, they try to prevent people from being registered to vote. They reduce the number of places where you can vote. They reduce the voting hours. They try to make it so that you have to get voter IDs, which themselves might be free, but costly documents that you may not have may be required in order to get the ID in the first place. That's what they're doing. They're doing the equivalent of when lawyers argue process rather than facts, because the facts aren't on their side. Sadly, it may work. And that's why if voter registration is required in your state, then you should make sure that you've done it. If you have other options, same-day registration, whatever, just you have to be informed. Make sure you know what needs to be done so that you can vote, because otherwise the people who say, oh, automatic voter registration is a scam are going to win. And then they're going to make it even harder for us to win in the future. So the takeaway is we all must vote. Not a shocking conclusion.